Now, I get it. We all come here and we all need to make a living. You got to pay bills because as soon as you arrive, the bill starts to come in. So do whatever it is you're doing to make those bills, to pay those bills. However, don't be discouraged that you need to also look at what your credentials are.
But going back to when most of us came to the US, and for the benefit of the people who are fresh here and they have some sort of qualifications from back in Kenya, what is it in hindsight that you think most Kenyans could or should have done different as far as their jobs were concerned outside these roles that we are told this is where you're supposed to be? Doesn't matter if you have a degree, doesn't matter if you have a master's, this is where you have to start. Laverah.
Okay, so one thing I would start off by saying is this is sort of my formed opinion based on various years, is where you land when you arrive significantly can change the trajectory of your path in this country. And unfortunately, a lot of people land in a situation where they're told you have to start with these type of roles before you can proceed to something else. Now, I get it. We all come here and we all need to make a living. You got to pay bills because as soon as you arrive, the bill starts to come in. So do whatever it is you're doing to make those bills, to pay those bills. However, don't be discouraged that you need to also look at what your credentials are. This is where I think positioning, personal branding, and reviewing your credentials is very important. Now, I'm currently, best example I can give is I'm currently working with a lady, very qualified accountant from back home. Really qualified, has the degree, undergraduate and bachelor's, was given the same exact information that you must go back to school. Now, going back to school and getting a whole new degree in accounting here versus an accounting degree in Kenya, I'm not sure exactly what you're benefiting from that. Now, if you're telling me she needs to go in for continuing education, maybe get certifications that are relevant to the work that's done here, that's a whole different discussion. That's maybe 3, 4, 5 months, and then she gets a certification. So, in my opinion, no. Depending on the industry that you're in, you may not need to go back to school entirely. Now, if you're coming in to do law, maybe you're coming in as a nurse, an RN, you may need to do some exams, you may need to go in and do some continuing education. But if you're an accountant, balancing books here and balancing books home, it's the freaking same thing, right? So what I would suggest in that situation is make sure you have somebody who can look at your resume. You look at it in parallel with opportunities that you believe you would be qualified for based on the roles that you've previously done. It's very difficult. Like if I'm working on updating someone's resume right now, usually I would ask them, can you give me an example of an opportunity you're looking for? What I will then do is take that resume and map it against this job description of what this person is looking for. I'm not necessarily saying lifting what's in the job description into your resume, because I'm not going to fabricate work that you never did, but really mapping it, especially in areas where there are transferable skills. So there are certain skills that you can be able to transfer from what you learned in your previous role and into this new role. That's what I would be looking for. The other thing is we already know that recruiters are heavily taxed. They're reviewing a lot of resumes. So we want to highlight the things in your resume that speak to the competencies that showcase you have the ability to perform the tasks in the job description. That is where we go with keyword optimization. We make sure, or I would make sure, that your resume speaks to those keywords that recruiters are looking for when they're trying to hire for people with that skill set. And then the third thing that I would also say is, depending on where you are in terms of your career, if you haven't created a LinkedIn account, and I keep saying this over and over again, people undermine the value and the benefit of LinkedIn. You go to LinkedIn and you start looking at associations, you start liking organizations that you have an interest in working with. Those type of things help with your profile because recruiters go there first when they are trying to source for candidates. So to answer your question, this was a long way to answer your question. It doesn't necessarily mean that just because you have credentials from back home, you have to go back to school here. You have to assess your individual situation, and preferably you need to speak to somebody like myself who can help you figure out if you need to go back to school, and if you do, what kind of courses you need to be taking before you go ahead and scrap everything you did back home and start from the beginning.